Chair of the Portfolio Committee on Transport and Infrastructure Development, board members here present.
Pronounce my surname. So we're having some classes after hours, but he's catching up. I'm happy about that. The Parliamentary Portfolio Committee Chairperson, for behalf of the board, management and staff of the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe, I extend my warm aviation greetings and welcome to you all to the Aviation Training Academy of Zimbabwe, CAAZ, here at Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport in Harare. Firstly, let me express my gratitude to Honorable K. Kaitano, the chairperson of this committee, and all the members of the Portfolio Committee for accepting our invitation to come for this very crucial tour of CAAZ facilities with an emphasis on the key infrastructure projects whose equipment was commissioned into operation in 2023 and in the year 2024. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Esteemed members of Parliament, the main objective of this familiarization tour today and the sensitization workshop tomorrow at the Rainbow Towers is to give you an appreciation of the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe, that is its mandate, functions, and operations. The Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe was established in 1999 by an Act of Parliament, the Civil Aviation Act, chapter number 13.16, and took over the functions of the former Department of Civil Aviation, which was under the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructural Development. Pursuant to International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, recommendations and the best practices, the authority hived off airport operations to the Airports Company of Zimbabwe through the Civil Aviation Amendment Act 2018, number 10 of 2018. Thus, through this act, CAAZ is now playing a purely regulatory role of oversight over the aviation industry ecosystem. This was meant to avoid conflict of interest, as CAAZ was having dual responsibilities. This enabled CAAZ to focus on ensuring safety, efficiency, and fairness in the aviation sector. This was also to enhance regulatory focus of exclusively setting and enforcing rules and standards and protocols. It was also meant to ensure accountability and transparency, which leads really to enhancement of public interest. Because where an organization does not have any transparency and is not accountable to anybody, then the public tends to lose trust. It was also meant to foster industry growth, which meant that the regulator now can better support the overall growth of the aviation industry. It was also meant to allow Airport Company of Zimbabwe to operate commercially, because that is a private company which is supposed to be generating income, yet CAAZ is the regulator of those operations. Over and above, it is a global best practice which fosters healthier and more competitive aviation. Esteemed members of Parliament, Chairman and the honorable members, maintaining the safety and security of our airspace is not just a matter of pride. It is a vital component of our national security and economic stability. You didn't hear me. It is a vital component of our national security and economic stability of our country. So, ladies and gentlemen, against this backdrop, compliance to International Civil Aviation Organization, that is ICAO, cannot be overemphasized. These standards are the backbone of international aviation safety, and adherence to them ensures that our nation remains respected and a trusted partner in the global aviation. Chairman and honorable members, maintaining compliance is an ongoing challenge that requires continuous modernization of our equipment and infrastructure. As technology evolves, so too must our capabilities. So modernizing our systems is therefore essential, not for compliance, but also for enhancing the efficiency and safety of our operations. In this regard, Chairperson, I'm happy to inform you that CAAZ is on the right trajectory, as evidenced by commissioning of the state-of-the-art equipment, which no doubt projects Zimbabwe as a safe destination. This in turn supports the broader economic growth through increased investments, partnerships, and tourism. Honorable members, I want to highlight or to emphasize that if CAAZ does not play its role of regulating the operations of the aviation industry, then we've got no tourism to talk about. All those people whom you see flying into Zimbabwe, they are flying into Zimbabwe because the airspace is safe, which is CAAZ's responsibility. So during the tour today, you will view the following air navigation systems. That is the secondary surveillance radar, the air control station and air traffic communication systems in the domestic terminal, air traffic control tower in the international terminal, and the Doppler very high frequency omnidirectional radio range and distance measuring equipment just outside the airport complex. Those are the things which will expose you to, so that you can appreciate that the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe, what are the tasks which they go out, they take on daily basis. So, ladies and gentlemen, our vision as the regulator is to be a regional center of excellence in civil aviation regulatory and air navigation services by the year 2030. In order to achieve the vision, and without preempting the presentations which will be done tomorrow, I must hasten to say or point out that there is a need, therefore, to ensure alignment of the International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO standards and recommended practices with the state legislation in order to attain full compliance, hence the importance of this engagement with the portfolio committee. Therefore, the tour today and the presentations of tomorrow's workshop shall endeavor to shed more light on the criticality of the Civil Aviation Amendment Bill and the need for speedy processing of the bill before it is tabled before you, esteemed members of Parliament, in the August House. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I would like to assure you, all esteemed members, that this is just the beginning of our stakeholder engagement efforts, and we shall continue to engage, celebrating the milestone achievements within the regulatory space in the industry at large. We look forward in your insights and support as we work together to strengthen our aviation sector. In a bid to fulfill our national vision 2030, which aims to foster inclusive economic growth and address poverty resolutely, thereby transforming Zimbabwe into an industrializing, knowledge-based, upper middle income country that provides a high quality of life for its citizens by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, the authority remains committed to embracing innovation and excellence and making good our service promise, which says, I quote, safety, security, quality, and efficiency. Please enjoy our warm aviation hospitality. I thank you, Nyabonga Tetet.
Legislation, a law coming in where the transponder equipped issue will be addressed. As parliamentarians, we are willing to know, is that draft there already, or we are supposed to be initiating it at another time, or is already in the pipeline? I just want to get that clarity. Thank you.
Initiating. But at the moment, we start with consultations with the industry on the intentions. And then, because we are talking about the users of our airspace and their concerns, which we need to take on board. And so we are yet to go to we've set a date for the user consultation meetings, but thereafter then we take the due course. Aviation, which the legal advisor spoke about there, we are talking of a setup where people intending to commence a flight will issue a notification, which is a flight plan. To say,
I think on that part we have understood.
Okay.
We want the other part, which is chisiri civil aviation chinodetectwa nemilitary. Are you
Yes.
saying zvemudenga ndizvo zvedu isusu tinozvibata, zvepasi ndezvemilitary inodhila nazvo? So you are saying both ways. Isusu tikarowa mudenga, the military inodhila nezviri pasi. Saka in both situations we are safe, we are covered. Is that what you are saying?
Is it the best? The fact that you can't detect some of the flights, is it because your equipment is limited, or do you have the best that can detect the
It's mandated. It's legislation.
That's why I said the understanding the principle of the secondary surveillance radar. That's why I was laying out and also pitted it or compared with the primary. And the DG came in aptly to say these primary radar systems are normal, they will detect all aircraft, but these are the systems that are normally the preserve of the military. Yes, so that is an area, because security in its format, mandate for security, actually we operate the airspace delegated from the military. It's a delegated function. When the military comes in, they can say we close the airspace and no one can fly in because they'll be in control of it. So with regards to the security aspect of the airspace or in Zimbabwe, that is a prerogative of the military. Yes.
It has two parts. The first, smaller airports like Charles Prince, your smaller aerodromes, in terms of their control, how is it done, number one? Number two, when universities, those who are doing things for academic purposes, for instance, they are doing drones, we've had this licensing of drones that's done, how do you separate the two, considering that drones are at a low altitude?
Yeah, you're talking about control at Charles Prince.
Yes.
So all the 8 airports in Zimbabwe have got what we call a control zone, which is an area of jurisdiction for them. So Charles Prince Airport will control the aircraft according to the control zone at Charles Prince is very small. Actually, it borders into the Harare terminal approach area. And so each airport has got a prescribed area of control. And also when aircraft leave Charles Prince, for example, if they are going into our upper airspace, we've got the lower airspace, which is all the flight levels up to 24,000 500 feet, we deem that all that airspace is low airspace. It varies a bit between some of the airports. So when somebody is flying around Charles Prince, he's controlled. Charles Prince has got what we call tower and approach. Tower is when we go up there, is around 17 nautical miles radius around an airport, where the controller can visibly see the traffic from their control position. Once, and up to a certain altitude, once they go out of that area, they are handed off to approach. So in Charles Prince, Kariba, Masvingo, Buffalo Range, Wange, these airports have got, and Vic Falls, but we are going to separate that soon, they've got combined tower and approach operations. So when the aircraft then fly higher, up to about 24,000 feet, they are handed over to a room out there which is called Area Control Center. From the Area Control Center, the whole Zimbabwean airspace is controlled for that traffic above that level. Then you asked about
education. The first part was
the
to
drones.
clarify. Yeah, the first part was to clarify the lower flight, so
Okay.
that there is another layer of control that's there. So as you explained, you dispelled that what the chairman was asking about. The second part is on the educational side.
the educational side. You talked about drones. We have like at these exhibitions, trade fairs, the trade, ZITF, and at some other forums, we have CAAZ gives information about operations of drones, the fact that they must first be registered with CAAZ, and then the people must be trained at approved training institutions to operate the drones, and also the restrictions with regards to their operations in the airspace. That is given, that information is given. So you will find that if a person is a bona fide registered drone operator, they've gone through the training that gives them the information concerning how they should operate their drone. And then they will not interfere with traffic, like at low-level traffic, like coming in at the airports.
And those cameramen in our weddings, they are not trained.
Well, that might be an assumption. I don't know about every cameraman, but the law says they must be certified. And
So it's the
so
monitoring and to ensure that.
yes, and the police are quite active on that. I remember receiving a call from Glen Nora to say, you are from CAAZ. I said, yes, and he said, we've got somebody here who is operating a drone. He doesn't seem to have a license. And I passed him on to the relevant section within the authority. They were charging that person for operating the drone without an appropriate license. So the police is familiar with the requirements for drone operations.
It's a highly regulated area, and as a result, we have our mother body, which is the International Civil Aviation Organization, which is the one which gives us the regulations on how to run an efficient aviation industry. So therefore, we are subject to audits. So that is the way how they check the issue of compliance, because we have to be compliant so that at least our nation is regarded as one of those in the global aviation industry.
Are there any other key areas that you would like to highlight as a result of the visit by the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee today?
Definitely so, because as a regulated area, we need their input when we make some submissions of any bill or any regulations which we want to be domesticated after we receive them from the ICAO, which is our mother body. So we need their input, so their role really cannot be understated.
Well, that's all from me. Any questions from
Those transponders, in fact, as the entity, already we've started to sensitize our stakeholders or our operators to comply to that, because we believe in stakeholder engagement, because even if you are coming up with a policy is made for people. So the first thing is to advise those people who are going to be affected by the policy, and therefore we are now considering to have their input in respect of that. It is good for the entity, it is good for all the stakeholders.
As from an operations point of view, the role and function of the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe in light of the recent visit by the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee.
Yes, thank you very much. The role of the Civil Aviation Authority is to regulate the industry. When we say the industry, we are looking at the civil aviation industry, including, say, commercial aviation, general aviation, aerodromes, drones, so that there is safety in the skies of the country. We also have another role in terms of advising the government on all matters concerning civil aviation. We have the expertise, so we talk to the government so that we can see how we can chart a better way forward in terms of enhancing civil aviation development within the country. And of course, with civil aviation development, we want more tourism, more trade.
Did you also, in light of the visit, have there been any key areas highlighted by the Portfolio Committee with regards to the operations of the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe?
Well, we visited the Solar Surveillance Radar, so the Portfolio Committee was quite interested in how it operates and in terms of coverage within the country. We also visited the communication equipment and also explaining how it operates, how it makes sure that Zimbabwe is well connected. And now we are in the area, in the control center where the airspace within the country is controlled to ensure safety of operations.
Honourable, appreciating visit that you've made today to the Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe, maybe you can share with us a bit of your findings and what you hope to be able to achieve by having visited today.
What we have realized on this visit is the improvement of the kind of machinery and equipment that is here, the modernization thereof. We have seen that CAAZ has improved their equipment. That also ensures that safety and security of our skies in Zimbabwe is enhanced. So we are happy that in that respect, CAAZ has done a good job to improve and modernize and digitize most of the operations here.
As representatives of the legislature, what would you say with regards to your findings you are then going to take forward to it?
There are a number of legislative issues that CAAZ would want us to consider in Parliament, and we've actually invited them to bring them forward because those legislative matters, they are very critical in improving the safety and security of our airspace. So we are going to consider them. We've actually invited them to bring them on, and as a committee we will deliberate on them, and we believe that the Parliament of Zimbabwe will be able to facilitate those legislative matters to be dealt with, and that will improve the safety and security, the ratings of safety and security of our Zimbabwean airspace.
That's it for me, and this